Good morning, and thanks for being with us here on Eyewitness News. And we have our legal counsel in today, ready to answer your legal questions. So if you have one, go ahead, give us a call. We were just talking about different things that come across your desk. And, you deal a lot with divorces.
Yes.
And, it's one of those times where, of course, this is the hardest time in anyone's life.
Yes.
What are some big things that you see that people have questions with when they first talk to you?
Well, a lot of people always want to know, the process of what happens when you go through a divorce. There's a difference between, if you're married and you go to court, and when, a lot of people have children and are not married, how they get into court. And generally that's through a paternity action if you're not married. And then when you're married, it's through a divorce. And then when you file a divorce, the person that files first gets to set temporary orders for things such as child custody, child support, spousal support, if any, property division, debt division, things like that, on a temporary basis. But when you are not married in Sedgwick County, you don't set temporary orders automatically when you file a paternity action when you're not married. And I have a lot of people that come to me and ask me questions about that and get confused and think there's some sort of race to the courthouse when you're not married through a paternity action.
Yeah, because that's kind of what it sounds like sometimes.
Yes, well, sometimes it can be through a divorce because people want to get in there and file temporary orders very quickly. But when you're not married, you have to file a motion, a petition with the court for a paternity action, and then file a motion before anything would be ordered by the court.
Okay, good to know. Thanks for sharing. Let's go ahead and get to the phones. We have a caller on the line right now. Hi there, good morning. What's your question?
Well, I was been offered a plea agreement, and I was wondering if I don't take the plea agreement and I take it to trial and I become guilty on it, will the plea agreement still be the same, or will the sentence be different?
Well, sir, I'm sorry, I did not hear the entire question that you had there. But if you have a plea agreement and you go to court, the judge does not necessarily have to follow the plea agreement. I mean, I didn't get your entire question, but...
Can we try to go back and hear it again, guys? Can you pull that up again? Can we have him ask it again?
Okay, I was offered a plea agreement, and if I don't take that and I take it to trial, will the plea agreement be still the same, or will it be different?
Well, if you take a plea agreement, or if you choose not to take a plea agreement and you go to trial, then that doesn't mean necessarily that you will get the same result as the plea agreement. That's why some people will take a plea agreement rather than go to trial, because sometimes you take a chance by going to trial. So if you go to trial, it doesn't necessarily mean that you will get the same result as a plea agreement. That's
something that you have perhaps just that one opportunity to take.
Yes, and like I said, the judges don't always have to follow the plea agreement either, and that gets a little bit more complicated because there's sentencing guidelines when you go to be sentenced, and there'll be ranges depending on a lot of different factors that a judge can sentence you to. But, generally I like to think that they'll follow the plea agreement, but they don't have to either. It just depends on a lot of different factors.
Okay, well, thanks for calling. That's a great question, and that's all the time we have today. We'll be back with more Eyewitness News coming up next. Thanks for filling in for Charlie today. We appreciate it. Always good to see you. We'll be back with more Eyewitness News.
Expect more on KSCW. This is Eyewitness News This Morning in high definition. Online at kwch.com. Follow KWCH on Facebook and Twitter.